The fawn's terrified screams cut through the chaos as the crocodile's death roll dragged her mother beneath the churning water, turning the Zambezi River's edge into a crimson nightmare. The baby waterbuck, barely 2 weeks old with her spotted russet coat still fluffy with youth, stood paralyzed on the muddy bank as her mother's final struggle sent waves crashing against the reeds. Then silence. Terrible, absolute silence, except for the fawn's desperate bleating into a world that had just become incomprehensibly cruel. 30 yards away, crouched in the tall elephant grass, Jabari watched with the cold calculation of a hunter. The 7-year-old male lion had been tracking this waterbuck herd for hours, waiting for them to drop their guard at the water's edge. He was a magnificent specimen, 400 pounds of pure muscle, with a dark mane that marked him as a prime male. The crocodile had stolen his intended kill, but now an easier target remained. A helpless fawn frozen in shock, too young to run, too traumatized to think. But then the fawn turned and looked directly at Jabari, with huge dark eyes brimming with tears, an expression so human in its raw grief that it struck something deep in the lion's chest. She didn't run. She simply stood there, trembling, waiting for death, because she had nowhere else to go and no one left to protect her. Jabari had lost his own cubs just 3 months ago. His mate had given birth to 4 beautiful babies, but a coalition of young males had found them while Jabari was away patrolling his territory. They'd killed all 4 cubs and driven his mate away, leaving Jabari to return to the scent of his children's blood and the silence where their voices should have been. Now, looking at this orphaned fawn, Jabari saw his own cub's helplessness reflected back at him, and for reasons that defied his nature, his training, his very DNA, he couldn't kill her. Instead, Jabari did something extraordinary. He approached slowly, making soft chuffing sounds that lions use to communicate non-aggression. When he reached her, he gently nudged her with his enormous head, the same gesture he'd used to guide his own cubs. Confused and traumatized, the fawn stumbled forward as the massive predator guided her away from the river back toward the tree line. What Jabari knew was that the waterbuck herd hadn't gone far. They'd scattered at the crocodile attack, but would regroup within a mile, likely at the secondary watering hole to the east. He'd tracked this herd for 3 days. He knew their patterns, their refuges, their family structures. For the next 40 minutes, Jabari performed an act witnessed by wildlife researcher Dr. Thandway through her telephoto lens from her observation post. The male lion carefully herded the fawn across dangerous territory, protecting her from predators. When hyenas caught the fawn's scent and began stalking, Jabari roared with such fury that they fled. When the fawn's legs gave out from exhaustion, Jabari lay beside her, his massive body providing shade until she recovered. He used all his tracking skills not to kill prey, but to return it to safety. When they crossed a stream, he walked beside her, his bulk breaking the current. As they crested a ridge overlooking the secondary watering hole, Jabari stopped. Below, the waterbuck herd grazed nervously. The fawn's ears perked up at the sight of her family. Jabari gave the fawn one final gentle push, urging her down the slope. The baby bounded down on wobbly legs, crying out to her herd. The waterbuck scattered initially, but the fawn's aunt recognized her voice and ran toward the baby. They met in the middle of the clearing, the aunt immediately grooming the traumatized youngster. The fawn was home, safe, alive against all odds. Jabari watched from the ridge. The herd had spotted him, their bodies tense, but he made no move to hunt. He simply observed as the fawn began to relax into the safety of family. Then the lion turned and walked away without looking back. Dr. Thandway's footage of this event went viral, sparking global debate about animal emotion. What happened next truly shocked everyone. 3 weeks later, Jabari appeared at the watering hole where the herd drank. They should have fled. Instead, they maintained cautious distance but continued drinking. The fawn actually took steps toward Jabari before her aunt called her back. This pattern repeated for months. Jabari never hunted that specific herd again. The fawn grew into a healthy young female, and when she had her own calf 2 years later, witnesses reported seeing Jabari nearby, his presence keeping other predators away. When Jabari finally died at age 12 from injuries sustained in territorial fights, something remarkable happened. The young female he'd saved approached his body and touched her nose to his scarred muzzle. She stayed as the sun set, a prey animal mourning a predator. Jabari's story proved that the savannah's rules aren't as absolute as we believe, that grief can reshape even the fiercest heart, that protecting life can be as powerful as taking it, and that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in the kill, but in choosing mercy, recognizing that compassion can exist even in the wildest of hearts. If this incredible story of impossible mercy moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more true tales that prove nature still has the power to surprise us and remind us that love and loss create bonds stronger than any food chain.